What's going on, everybody? Smitty from around the 412 here, and this is a different type of video, not a podcast. Tyler's not here, but I had the awesome opportunity of being out at Friday Night Lights practice at Latrobe Memorial yesterday. Thanks to my guy, Alan Saunders. Other podcast I do, Steelers Afternoon Drive with Steelers Now, was able to get me a credential for yesterday to be out there. And what an experience. I think my first takeaway is about the fans and just the way that they show up, the atmosphere that is created for Friday Night Lights. It's awesome. Like, if you can only go to one training camp practice, that should be the one to be at. It's in a different setting because of the over 13,000 people there yesterday. So it needs to be in a different setting to make it happen, to accommodate it. But I think everybody's just very cognizant of the environment. Like, they definitely like dial it up in practice, take it to another level. Match the fan base's intensity. I had a friend that was there. I saw them post that Art Rooney II was just like walking around in the stands. Like, to have your owner in the trenches with the fans, I think it just speaks to this organization, what makes it so special, why they want to keep traditions like this going to Latrobe I said Latrobe, for training camp and just continuing on with this tradition. So last night was awesome. Just from that perspective, that was my main takeaway, was just the way that they show up and show out in this capacity. And it's awesome to see. So if you ever get the opportunity to go out for training camp, you're like, oh, I don't know when I should go out, I would try to do it for Friday Night Lights practice because it's an awesome setting. And I was also curious as to like how, the first timers that have never experienced this would respond in that environment. The Jalen Ramseys, Darius, Aaron Rodgers, DK Metcalfs of the world, we were all looking forward to seeing. And honestly, like, out of those guys, my big takeaways didn't really involve Aaron, didn't involve DK, although Aaron's best throw to me was a DK Metcalf drop. Not necessarily an easy play to make, but it's one he should have had down the sideline. Definitely Aaron's best throw of the day, and what was like an up and down day for him and the offense in general. Tough day for the receivers, and that's been a conversation. Going to continue to be a conversation, but they were not very good. Though I will say, I think Rock Taylor continues to have his moments when he's given an opportunity. I still feel like he's going to be the guy. Like, in the preseason, we always fall in love with one of these receivers and think that they're going to make a push to make the 53 as like the fifth or sixth wide receiver. I think there's going to be a lot of people clamoring for him to make the roster over a Robert Woods, who is not very good. Not that we expect to see him in a punt return situation, but fumbled a punt, couple drops. Not a good day for Robert Woods last night. But I mentioned Darius Slay and Jalen Ramsey and how they would respond in this setting. Darius Slay is really starting to turn it up. In 7 shots, 2 pass breakups, coming off of Thursday where he had 2 pass breakups and 7 shots. The one, Fryermuth, looks like he's about to come down with it in the back of the end zone. Late hands, fighting through the hands, makes a play on the ball, breaks it up. So yeah, he's been really good. Another play was in the back of the end zone that he broke up. But yeah, he's really coming on strong. He's been very good. And Jalen Ramsey's he continues to run routes for the receivers. I understand, you look at the age. I think people just look at that, and I'm not saying he's the same player that he was going back to his best days in Jacksonville or with the Rams when he won a Super Bowl, but still a very good player. And I just think he is exactly what this team needed at this point in time. From like an energy perspective, what he brings to the table in that regard, he's always going to show up and get the people going. But he's still a really good player too, and he's just on everything. I think like above the neck is why he's going to age so well in this league and be able to carve out a career much longer than your average cornerback lasts in this league. And look at Darius Slay playing at 34 years old. I think still at a very high level. And the early returns there have been very good, as I mentioned, and only seem to get better as the days go on here. So those two looked really good last night. The secondary in general, I think, is really coming on. Beanie Bishop, I thought, had a really nice day yesterday. James Pierre was a little bit up and down. Corey Trice suffered a hamstring injury, so we had James Pierre going with the twos. James Pierre got burnt by Scotty Miller. Honestly, I don't even know what the route was, but he burnt him pretty cleanly. And then James Pierre picks off Mason Rudolph in the end zone to end the practice. So bit up and down, I feel like, as James Pierre has been. But unless somebody unseats him for that gunner spot, and now with Corey Trice going to miss some time here with a hamstring injury, I don't know. We could be talking about James Pierre making this roster yet again. You know, it's one of those things. People keep pushing him off the roster. People keep pushing him off the roster. He always finds his way back for the special teams value. And I think he can do worse in terms of a boundary cornerback option. So we'll see. But James Pierre going to make things interesting, I think. Again, unless somebody can unseat him in that gunner role. Brandon Eccles has been awesome too. Like I'm saying, this secondary as a whole have been the group, I think, so far. Training camp, just from what I heard, and then obviously last night getting to see it for myself, that's what stood out in a big way to me in the team periods was this secondary, this defense in general. I know a lot of people have been asking about Peyton Wilson as well. So noticeably to me different from the last time that I saw him in this setting. So I was out there for a weekend, obviously last year training camp, getting back out there for Friday Night Lights this year, just in that setting, just looks so much more comfortable, vocal. He's like trash talking, having a lot of fun and backs on backers, communicating a lot more. I just really think he's coming into his own in that regard. And obviously we'll see if it translates onto the field and if he's going to be a 3-down linebacker, but really cool to see for him, and definitely looking forward to seeing how that carries over for him. So good stuff there from Peyton Wilson. Speaking of backs on backers and just going through that, big takeaway for me in the backs on backer stuff was Kaleb Johnson, who had really struggled in that drill. I mean, Eddie Faulkner's like coaching him up, really getting in his grill about what he needs from him, what he's doing, like how important this is, like really stressing this drill to him. Even like he struggled early in it the first time that they did it. He was struggling last night through the first couple reps. Then he goes against Mark Robinson. So he had been going against Malik Harrison. Goes against Mark Robinson, holds his own, and they get into it, like a full-blown strap ensues after this. And then you're like, okay, how's he going to respond? They want them to go back at it again. Kaleb Johnson holds his own again. So he held his own through all of that, through the scrap and both reps there. I thought Kaleb Johnson had his best reps, and that's encouraging. That's what you want to see. That is what, like, you're not going to play, regardless of how good of a runner he is, unless he has the coach's trust in that regard and can show something there. And also, I think needs to be better in the receiving game and show some type of ability there, even with the likes of Jalen Warren, Kenny Gainwell on the roster. I think just to earn coach's trust, it's something that you're going to have to show a little bit of. But definitely an encouraging day for Kaleb Johnson. I thought it was cool to see him bounce back in that regard. So we'll see. I think he needs to stack days like that. So very encouraged by the way that things ended for Kaleb Johnson. It was really cool to see afterwards, him and Mark Robinson, after they had just gotten into that scrap, give each other a dap and hug. You know, it's just if you've never played a team sport, you might overreact to that scrap taking place. But like, that's what this is, man. Like, and Tomlin can say whatever he wants about it and make it seem like he doesn't want those things happening. Big smile on his face while it's all taking place, as long as nobody gets hurt, right? Like that's obviously the worst case scenario there, but all good on that end. Was also curious as to what a fellow rookie Jack Sawyer was going to look like. Honestly, my biggest takeaway, the backs on backers was up and down. He actually swatted a couple balls at the line of scrimmage. Nice job getting his hands on. The one was from Aaron Rodgers. The other one might have been a Mason Rudolph pass, but getting his hands on a couple passes. But honestly, the big takeaway for me in terms of Jack Sawyer had nothing to do with any of that. Comes out of team period and immediately just starts working with TJ Watt on the sidelines. Like, I thought it was awesome that he just was like, he wants to be a sponge. I got to ask him a question afterwards. I was hoping he would go into more detail than he did. Like, I was trying to figure out a nice way to word this, but it's not necessarily a knock. It just is what it is. The way that Jack won at Ohio State, I don't think necessarily is going to translate to the NFL. I think he needs to show more of a pass rush plan and develop a bigger bag. And I basically asked him that, like, said, hey, you're probably not going to be able to win the same way on Sundays that you did on Saturdays at Ohio State. So what are you working on to kind of develop more of a pass rush plan? And he didn't necessarily talk about like himself or anything like that. He just said like he's got the best group of guys here to learn from in terms of his development. Obviously, TJ, Alex, Herbig, guys that have done it already at this level and can't wait to just be around them more and more and just be a sponge and absorb everything you can. And that's great. I think that's absolutely the case. I was hoping he would go into more detail in terms of specifically what it was he was working on, but it is what it is. We also had a very brief period of time with the guys afterwards. So it's hard to even get a question in, get a guy to talk to you, to be honest with you. Would have loved to have had a conversation with Kaleb Johnson after that backs on backers, but wasn't able to make it happen. Will Howard, while we're talking about rookies, I think, again, up and down, like he just has times where he just sails it, like doesn't come within 15, 20 yards of a guy, and that happened in team period. But he's really shining to me in 7 shots. Like he just has total command of it in that situation. And he's been very good in that setting. So, and that continued during Friday Night Lights with a couple touchdown passes, I thought looked really good in that setting. He's one of the guys I'm really looking forward to in the preseason. Like if you're somebody that is of the mindset that you want to see this guy get a shot to be the next franchise quarterback, be tapped into the preseason because that's where he's going to get his moments to shine there. Very slim chance that we see him in the regular season. You need a couple dominoes to fall that we do not want to fall in order to see him in that. So we'll see Will Howard in the preseason. Really looking forward to that. Big takeaway because he's literally big. Darnell Washington is unfair in one-on-ones. Like he just stonewalls a guy, gives him the Matumbo finger wag, and that's it. That's the rep. Like he just shuts it down in that drill. So fun to watch do that. That's like they might as well call it the Darnell Washington drill at this point. Like no one's getting him in it. So good. And that's why he's so valuable to this team, regardless of what his receiving work is going to be. They utilize him a ton. It's just they don't utilize him the way that the fan base wants them to as a receiver, I guess. And I know people get on me about this all the time, going back and forth in terms of like, I think that I have a very different view of Darnell Washington as a player than a lot of people do. Like, especially after that Johnny Smith trade, people are like, they forget Darnell Washington's on the roster. No, they just know what Darnell Washington is good at. Like, he is an extra offensive lineman that I will concede should be used more in the red zone as a receiver than they've done. But between the 20s, I don't think he's being misused at all. I think he's being used exactly to what his skill set is. Just a massive human, and he's so good in those one-on-ones and a very valuable player. I mean, you're seeing tight ends like Josh Oliver, who, is being paid to be good at what Darnell Washington is also good at, making $7-8 million a year. So certainly a market for it. Darnell's going to get his payday. Will it come in Pittsburgh? We'll see. But they certainly value what he brings to the table. So I would think that it's certainly on the table for him to get an extension here. I think that's it. I think that's all I got. Yeah, I mean, like I said, very fun night. Just, so blessed when I get the opportunity to do something like that, step into a different world for a day. I've taken off the fan hat and putting on the media hat for 24 hours. Don't want to act like I'm in that space whatsoever. I had a newfound respect for people within that space last year when I saw what that grind really was from the start of the day to the end of the day. So everybody that's on that beat, and so many great people as well, all hanging out at Sharky's at the end of the night. I left a little bit early, but they were closing it down for sure. And they were stocked up on the Icy Light mangoes. Thank goodness. They're putting them down like water. So, but anyways, getting off topic, I have such an appreciation for everybody that makes these things happen. Super thankful that I get the opportunity to do stuff like this, and wouldn't be possible without the support of everybody that's watching this and is tapped into any of the content that I or we put out. So thank you so much again. Hope you're able to get at the train camp. Hope I see a bunch of you at Steelers games this year and such. Always feel free to tweet at me, DM me, all that good stuff. I'm always looking. So appreciate you guys tapping in. Again, if you can get out to Latrobe, do it, especially for Friday Night Lights next year. Make sure you're there. But until next time, this has been Smitty. This is Around the 412. See you then.